Okay, so this is a strength class. We have some fun things to do, or at least I think they're fun. And we just really need our weights and perhaps our mat. But as always, I hope you have like other things close by that you think are good for you. And so if you ever need to switch something out, you'll just do that. I have some water. I feel like there's something else. I have like this weird, like something else I'm supposed to say. But anyway, I guess maybe it'll come to me. Or not. Or not. Okay, let me get my stuff out of the way. I wrote some things down, which always is exciting for us. So I'm going to keep them along the side and work these fun things in. Just different moves that I saw on the internet. We don't need this just yet. We're going to start standing, so I'm just going to put mine off to the side. Okay? Bit of a warm up. All right? So come on up to stand. And I have my sneakers on. I feel like I say this all the time. Shoes are totally optional. If you are more excited to take yours off, please take them off. I love that. So I'm going to start just nice and tall, hands on my hips. And I'm going to start to warm the hips up a little bit. When I bring my hips from side to side, I tend to get a pretty nice stretch in the inner thigh and the outer hip a little bit too. So I'm not leaning forward or back too much right now. Just side to side. I'll do one more each way. Take your time if you have one side that's a little tighter. And then we'll come back to the center, and I'm going to make a little bit of a circle going in one direction. And I think this kind of wakes up the ball and socket functionality, right? That's what we've got, two ball and socket joints here. So when we do the circle, the pelvis is moving, the bone into the pelvis are turning in this circular way. And then let's go the other way, see how it feels. Feels a little less weird for me this way. Go ahead and just keep breathing. Please don't hold your breath. And I'm just going to do one more in this direction. And then back to the center, feet standing nice and tall. I'm just going to lift the heels and then shift back and lift the toes. Heels up, toes up. Heels up, toes up. It may be a little different on one foot. And so just notice that stuff. Always give yourself something to hold on to if it makes it a little bit more fun or a little bit easier to move through the range of motion of the exercise. I'm just going to do 5 more here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then I'm going to step my left leg back and my right leg forward. The right knee kind of right over the right foot. So we're getting a pretty big stretch through the back heel. See if you can get your back foot looking straight ahead and the heel goes down. And I'm just going to keep my upper body straight and move it forward and back up again. Forward and back up again. This is kind of a whole bunch of things are happening at once here for sure. When you come up, you're going to feel length here. So make sure when you come up, you stand tall. When you lean forward, make sure you're not rounding forward. It's more of a hinge. And when you hinge forward, that's when you're getting that deeper calf stretch. At least that's what I feel. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, 1 more. Yeah, and then we'll switch legs. Left leg forward, right leg back. I have my hand on the wall. There's no reason, I just kind of want to right now. Back toes are forward, left knee over the foot, and then we hinge and lift. Ooh, this is a much deeper stretch for me. And up. Especially the standing part, my right hip flexor is so much tighter. Bringing the opposite arm out to the side could be a nice place for that arm if you don't really like to just keep it right on your hip. I'm going to do 4 more here. 4, 3, 2, and 1 more. And then come all the way forward. Good. From here, hands behind the head. I'm just going to bring one hand, you know what, interlace the fingers. I think is nice. Interlace the fingers, elbows forward just a little bit. Pull your head back as you gently push your hands into your head. Really gentle there. And we're going to do a little side to side. One elbow reaches up as the other one reaches down. And other side. These little warm-ups and stretches, if you just take a minute and pay attention to how different one side is from the other. Some of you that may be very clear if you have any sort of something going on where you're always aware of that. But for those of us who are less aware, it's still usually the truth. Let's just do 1 more each way. I'm really actively reaching up with my elbow as I reach down with the other, which makes it a much deeper stretch. And then come back to the center, shoulders can relax. And now we'll do an easy twist. You can bring your hips with you and see how that feels. So the twist is not as intense. You'll get more range of motion through the upper body. So my hips are twisting along with my chest and my elbows and my head. And then let's try a few, keeping your hips perfectly still. So now the twist is happening mostly in the thoracic spine and the upper spine. You can look at the elbow the elbow that's moving away from center. 1 more each way. Other side. And then come back to the center. Arms can come all the way down. Let's roll the shoulders. My shoulders are a little sore today. Been doing some gardening out there. Take a nice deep breath. And let's go the other way. Try and relax your jaw as you move through this. 3, 4, 5, 1 more. And then we'll take it into a full circle with the arms, okay? I'm going really full range of motion here. Maybe yours is a little smaller for some reason, that's fine. I'm gonna do 3 more in this direction. 2, and other way. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Arms by your sides, feet about hip distance, stand nice and tall. Relax those shoulders, just take a nice deep breath here. And then we can let the head come forward and slowly roll through the spine to come towards the floor. Go as far as you think you should. I'm going to soften my knees and remind myself to relax my neck so my head can be heavy. And then I'm going to come back up in the same way. A little more attention to pushing the floor away as we roll back up. And we're going to just try that 1 more time. I'll bring my arms with me this time. Inhale, arms up. And then the arms start to come down. Head can follow. Roll through the spine. Keep the knees a little soft if that feels better. All the way. Head is nice and heavy. Take a deep breath. And then push the floor away. Come on back up. All the way up to stand. Good. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of squat work today, some squat variations. I'm going to do the first set without any added weight, and then I'm going to add from there, okay? But I've got like weights nearby, so I'm just going to, you can add weights whenever you want, all right? So So we're gonna do a few different kinds of squats, starting with just a regular boring old squat to begin. So feet, for me, are slightly wider than the hips, ever so slight, with a little bit of turnout to the toes. And then I imagine that I'm sitting back into a chair and then pushing through the heels to come up. Tush gets a little bit of a squeeze. So we're just gonna do 8 more like that. 8 and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way up. So now we're going to do a different kind of squat. We're just going to play around with some variations. If ever we get to a variation that you don't like, just go back to that basic squat and do another set of those, okay? So I'm going to come a little bit narrow, and I'm going to do this like prayer hands wide elbows thing, but you can really do whatever you want with your hands. And I'm going to sit back into more of a narrow squat. And just a quick peek at the knees here. A lot of times people's knees fall in. See if you can keep your knees in line with like your third or fourth toe. We're gonna shift into the right foot and then the left. Almost like you're skiing, right and left, right and left, right and left. 3 more. 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, and 1. Come back to the center, push through both feet. And come all the way down. Inhale, reach the arms up. And then bring the arms around and down. Okay? Another variation of squat. This one's gonna be a lot like our normal squats, but we're gonna add a heel lift at the bottom. So I think arms wide will be nice for this one. Here's what it looks like. You're gonna sit back, heels up and down and stand. At the top, tush gets a squeeze. Sit back, heels up, down, and stand. Sit back, up, down, stand. 5 more. 5, up, 4, up, 3, up, 2, 1, all the way up. Legs are warming up a little, right? Take a nice deep breath, okay? So now we're gonna do another variation. We're gonna start not too wide with the feet, okay? And we'll come down into a fairly normal squat. I'm gonna come back to this, but I may change where my arms are. So sit back into your squat, and we're gonna let the feet inch out, heels and toes. Inch out. Oh my gosh, this is not easy. Heels and toes. I feel like there's an intuitive place where you're like, let's pry it far enough. And then you come back. Toes in, heels in. This is hard on the rug. I just want to put that out there. We're going to do it again. Toes, heels, toes, heels. I'm going to go that far. And in. In, stop here, come all the way up. Maybe you're on the floor and that was a lot smoother for you. We're gonna do another set of this in a little bit. You can always do it quicker than I can. Okay, last squat variation in this little set. Starting with a fairly normal squat, feet not too wide. Sit back and hold, okay? We've done this before. We're gonna roll up through the left heel and shift the weight into the right foot. When you push up through the right foot, push up through the right side and squeeze your right booty. It's almost like we're doing a 1-leg squat and the left leg is an assist. When you sit back into your imaginary chair, you're leaning into the right leg more than anything else. 6, 5, peek at that right knee, 3rd or 4th toe. 4, make sure you get that tushy squeeze at the top. 3, and 2, yep, 1 more. Come all the way up. We're gonna sit back into our squat, put the right heel down and lift the left. And you're pushing mostly through that left foot now. Inhale. Exhale to come up. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, one more. And just put that right heel down and come all the way up. Okay, good, very nice. Bring your feet a little bit wider than your hips. We're just gonna come back to this quick little hip stretch, hips right and left. Hips right and left. 2 more. And 2, and 1, and 1. Okay, come back to center. Okay, we're gonna do some arm stuff before we come back to all those fun things we just did. I'm gonna grab a set of 5s today. That feels like a medium place for me to be. You can grab whatever number you think sounds right. We're gonna end up doing some overhead stuff, tricep, bicep, chest, and back, okay? So we're gonna start with the toes forward and the palms wide. Belly button is in. I'm just gonna soften my knees a bit so it's nicer. And I'm gonna do a wide bicep curl with my palms up. Come to center, turn the palms in towards one another, and kind of a narrow bicep curl. So it's really just the palms that open as you come out to the sides, and then look at each other as you come up straight ahead. Palms wide, bicep, and then palms look at each other. Belly is in, spine is long. Palms wide. And narrow, and wide, and narrow. 3 more, and 3, and 3, 2, 2, 1 more each way. And palms look at each other, all the way down. Let's come all the way up to stand, head, side to side. As you bring your head over, try and keep your shoulders relatively still. Okay, we're not really moving the upper spine that much, except of course the cervical spine. 1 more each way. Good. And then we're going to come back to the center. Arms right by your sides. Soften your knees. Stick the tush out just a little bit. Okay? Elbows are going to bend. Chest. Think about opening your collarbones up, reaching your elbows long by your sides, and drawing your abdominals in. We're going to extend the arms right along our side body. Really, really long, straight arms here. And then bend right by your sides. When you get the arms by your sides, extend and return, okay? The tricep extension is we're gonna hold for 2 or 3 seconds. Come back and kind of a quicker down and up. Extend, 2, 3, bend, down and up. Extend, 2, 3, and bend, down and up. Extend, 2, 3, and bend, down and up. Extend, and bend, and reach. Bend, and reach. And bend, 1 more. And reach. And bend, and hold here. Extend only the left arm. And then immediately the right. So as one is extending, the other one is coming back up. And out. Have a peek at your knees too. Make sure they're as wide as that 3rd or 4th toe. Tushy's sitting back a little bit. 4 more. 4, 4. Spine is long. 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. and 1. Let's come all the way up to stand. Let's just give the arms a quick break. How about a head circle, 1 in each direction. Take a nice deep breath. Another side. Good, and then come back to the center, okay? From here, we're coming back to our little soft knee, booty back position. Elbows are gonna bend a little bit. I always think about this like it's a hug. Hug the arms. Lift your chest. Belly is in. Both arms first. Okay, so this is a nice wide arm position. Super deep breaths. 6. And 5. And 4. 3. 2. 1 more. And come back. Bring the weights to your chest. Come all the way up to stand. Relax your shoulders for a minute. Take a nice deep breath. We're going to go right back where we just were. So sit back, soften the knees, hug. 1 arm now. This is a lot more about back and core than it was with both arms, in my opinion. And down. And back. 3 sets. 3. And 3. And 2. And 2. 1 more each way. Other side. And then come back. Bring the weights to the chest. Come all the way up. Arms can come down. Let's look over the right shoulder and slightly behind you. And then back through the center, other way. And again, 1 more each way. Other side. And come back. 1 more little arm situation before we come back to doing all those super fun squats. Chest stays open as you press the arms back. Belly button is in here. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way back. Roll those shoulders. Okay, we're gonna move through some of those squats, those super fun squats that we did. Remember all those things we just did a few minutes ago? And I'm gonna hold on to these 5s and just kind of hold on to them as I move through all the stuff. And we're gonna play around with how we're holding them, and you can change from some of the ways that I choose to do mine, okay? So the first set was just a straight up squat set. Feet a little teeny bit wider than the hips, toes a little bit wide. When you sit back in your imaginary chair, the knees kind of track with the 4th toe. I'm just gonna keep my arms right by my sides for this. And then when I come up, tushy squeeze and breathe. 8 more. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All the way up. Okay, second squat set. This was a narrow stance, feet more narrow. I think I'm gonna bring my weights right to my chest. I'm gonna show you 2 options. Weights to chest I think would be nice, and weights kind of resting right on the shoulders I think is good for this one. I'm gonna come back to center, see how that feels, and sit back. This was our skiing type variation. So you're shifting from the right to the left, and right to left. You can even pretend like the wind is running across your face on the slopes. 5 more. 5, and 4, and 3, 2, 1. Come back to center. Push through both feet. Come all the way up. And arms come down. Take a nice deep breath. Okay, so this is our heel lift. I think I'm going to keep my waist right on my shoulders. I tried a couple of variations. I think I like this one the best. We'll see how this goes. So this is, again, kind of a normal squat stance, feet a little bit wide. When you sit back into your heels, you then shift towards the toes, lift the heels, put them down. On the way up, you can bring your arms right by your sides. Try that. Back and up and back and up and back and up. 5 more. 5 and 4 and 3 and 2. 1 more. Woo, all the way up. I'm really not excited about this feet going in and out. I want to come off the rug, if we're being really honest. Some of you don't have the ability to make that choice. I'm sorry. I'm going to come weights together, weights to chest. Let's see how this goes. So we started in our regular squat. Seat the back. Toes. Oh my God, so much better. Toes and heels. When you get as wide as you feel like you should go, you come back. Yeah, this is like doable. Come back. Try it again. Back. Back in. Okay, I'm gonna do one more set, even though my thighs are burning. Sit back. This is like, this makes me feel really awkward. Okay, I didn't love that. Okay, so now we have the, what I usually call like a kickstand. It's an assisted one leg squat, all right? I think arms right by the sides is a nice idea. We'll try that. So sit back in your squat. Check out your knees. They should align with the 3rd or 4th toe. Lift one heel. I'm starting with my left. Push up through that opposite heel. Stand tall. Push that right hip forward and then sit back. So my right foot is the one that's doing all the work right now. My left heel is lifted. When I come up, I'm pushing down with the right leg. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more. We got to switch feet. Right heel up, left heel down. Sit back and push up. Sit back, push up. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more. Whew. And put both heels down, all right? I'm gonna heels together, toes apart for a moment. Nice open chest. Heels will stay together if I can do that. And then I'm gonna try and lift and lower. See if you can use all your toes here. If your knees or your thighs get in the way from bringing your heels together, put a ball or something in between your heels. I really want you to use your big toes. We're gonna do 10 more. 10, 9, relax the jaw. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, one more, and all the way down. Last couple of days we've done some good footwork. I really like that. Okay, we're gonna take some of our weights and come down to the mat or the floor. So I'm gonna set my mat up and I'm gonna bring my 5s and my 8s and my 10s right next to where I'm gonna lie down on my back. And I'm also, actually, you know, we're not coming to our backs first. We're gonna come to our hands and knees. I'm also gonna grab a drink of water before I go down there, because it sounds like a really nice idea. Remember when you're moving your weights around to use your legs and to be mindful of your back and your core. Okay, water is here. Okay, that was exciting. So we're gonna come to the mat. Okay, so just a little warm up being on the mat. The silliest thing you'll probably do today, as long as your body thinks it's okay. We're gonna come to the front of the mat with our hands at the very front edge. Hands and knees, just, you don't need to overthink it. And we're gonna go backwards until we get to knees on the back edge of the mat. When we get there, we're gonna come forward again. Forward, and then back. Okay, keep doing this a few more times. So I've talked about this in the past. I have a client that I'm using this for right now, and I kind of just remember how great it is. Crawling is what we all did when we were building strength as babies. Crawling helps to develop strength through the hands, the wrists, the shoulders, the core, the legs, the hips, the pelvic floor. It helps us to create cognitive connections in our brains. There was like a study done at some point that those of us who didn't crawl very much or hardly at all have a harder time reading and with cognitive, there were cognitive connections between babies that didn't crawl. But I'm just going to mention the benefits of crawling, and that is it is a restorative movement. And the reason why we stop being able to do it is because we stop doing it. We don't do this, right? We just, unless you have a child in your house. I'm just doing this one more time. Okay, maybe this has been too many times for you. I don't want to say then you shouldn't be doing it. I would suggest that you do it just a little bit, but I think this is a really, really good move for a lot of us. Come up on your knees for just a minute and kind of push the hips forward. Arms can come out to the sides. You can twist your wrists a little bit. We've got to keep finding ways to work the mobility of the wrists, the shoulders, and the hips. I do think this is a great way to do it. Twist each way. And other side. And then come back to the center. And you can bring the arms down. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of tricep. It's kind of a tricep / core move. I'm going to get a 5-pound weight ready to go. I'm going to put the 5-pound weight kind of right under my chest so I can easily grab it. And then I'm going to come into a modified plank. Okay, so I would consider this for me a modified feeling. I'm lifting my abdominals, I have my hands down, and everything is nice and organized. Then I am going to grab the weight with my left hand, draw the abdominals in, and pull the elbow towards the ribs. This is not easy. I'm just going to do 4 more. And 3. and 2. One more. Put the weight down and give that opposite hand a little break, okay? It's not a tricep move. Sorry, I got that wrong. It's more of a shoulder, but it's really a core exercise. We've got to try the other side and see how it goes. How can you even modify more? Bring your knees further forward is what I would do, okay? So come back to whatever at this moment is a modified plank for you. And I'm grabbing now the weight with the opposite hand. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming all the way up. That was the challenge. I'm going to bring my thumbs behind my tush and reach the fingers down, lift the chest, big old chest stretch here. And again, one more deep breath. Okay, we're coming back without the weight to your modified plank. Without the weight this time. Elbows look back, lift your belly, lengthen your neck. Abdominals are in, and we're holding here, imagining that gravity wants to pull us up for 10, 9, 8, 7, elbows back, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and sit all the way back. Big ol' stretch. You can uncurl your toes and send your hips back, fingers forward, forehead further forward. One more deep breath here. Okay, we're coming back to our modified plank one more time. I think I'm going to incorporate that 5-pound weight. Again, we'll see how this one goes. I think I'm going to change my view so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm coming back, I'm putting the weight under my chest, slightly more narrow with my palms-ish. Modified plank. I'm coming back to my modified plank. I'm going to start with my pushing both my hands down, shifting into the right hand, grabbing the weight with the left hand, and coming out to the side. This is very challenging. I'm just going to do 3. Ooh! I'm switching hands right away. Easier on this side. One more. Put the weight down. Come all the way up. That's a great exercise to do without the weight. Some of you probably felt that. Okay, I'm going to come onto my back now because that sounds like a nice idea. I'm probably going to end up using my 8 pounds weight for the next little bit. Okay, 8-pound weights. All right, so come onto your back. You can give your shins a quick little hug when you get there. Maybe rock right and left. One more each way. And then come back to the center and all the way down. Okay? So just get yourself situated, knees bent, feet flat, as if you were in a position where you were going to start to bridge, but we're not going to bridge just yet. I'm going to grab my 8-pound weights, and we're going to do a little bit more work for both the arms and the core. That's kind of what we were just doing. In order to brace my shoulders and my abdominals, I'm going to roll to the side and carefully grab one weight at a time and then roll back. Okay? So knees bent, feet flat. I'm going to bring my weights together at first and kind of close to my ribs. And before I do anything, just take 2 deep breaths to find my abdominal connection. So neck is long, inhale deeply, exhale. One more. Arms are going to come straight up to the ceiling. We're going to keep the arms straight and separate the hands so the hands are directly above the shoulders. And we're going to play around with the wrists and the hands for a moment. Rotate your palms so you're facing straight ahead. So it's like my palms are looking towards my knees. And then I'm going to rotate so they're looking back at one another. Okay, so there's two wrist positions. Looking ahead and looking towards one another. Neck is long. Looking ahead, looking towards one another. One more each way. Looking ahead and looking towards one another. We're going to start with the palms looking towards one another. Abdominals are pulled in, keeping the arms straight. Bring the arms back, maybe a third of the way, and then return with an exhale. So I hope you can feel the shoulder and the abdominal work along the way. As you bring your arms back, you really have to brace your abdominals. We don't want the ribs to pop out, the belly button to pop out. This is a lot of weight. If you're holding on to numbers that don't seem suitable for your shoulders here, just go down a little bit, please. So I'm going to say exhale on the way up. We'll do 5 more. And 4. And 3. Two. One more. Turn so your palms are facing straight ahead. And we're going to bring the elbows out wide. I've got these weights in the way. Elbows out wide. And then back up just to tap over the chest. Elbows go wide. And up. 8 more. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3, 2, 1 more. We're going to take a quick break. Elbows come down by your sides and the weights come down as well. You can just rest your hands right on top. Maybe wiggle your fingers, relax the wrists for a moment, take a breath. And we're going to come back to that in just a second. Before we do, hands can stay on top of the weights. We're going to bridge. So press through the heels, booty up. Booty down. Booty up. Arms are straight. Press down into the weight. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Lower the hips. We're going back to those exercises for the shoulders and the core. So we're going to return, arms bend, extend straight up. So we started with the palms facing one another. We're going to switch that around and turn the palms to face straight ahead. And we're going to try the same exercise. Draw those abdominals in, arms go back, and then back up again. I think it's a really intuitive range of motion here. If I go any further than I am right now, I just essentially can't, I feel like I can't control it. Okay, so just be careful with your shoulders. 6 more. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1 more. And then I'm immediately going into, we did elbows wide last time. We're going to do narrow elbows, palms facing one another. Straight up. Straight up. 8 more. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Come all the way down. All the way down, palms back on top of those weights. Just wiggle your fingers, let the wrist relax for just a quick second and take a nice deep breath. I had to scratch my face. Okay, palms press down into the weights. Belly button is in. We're going to practice curling forward. So chin to the throat. You'll reach forward with your fingertips. The weights will tip a little to the front. And then come back down. Long arms. 5 more. And 4. And 3. 2. 1 more. All the way back down. Head will stay down. Okay, we've got one more shoulder set here. I'm a little bit curious for this last set about decreasing the weight to see about increasing my range of motion. So I'm going to carefully roll to the side. I'm going to grab my 5s and I'm just curious how it feels. Okay, so you can do whatever really you'd like. I would like to have a little bit more range of motion when I reach my arms back. So I'm curious if I decrease the weight if that happens. Okay, it's science. We're going to stretch the arms straight up. I'm going to start with my palms facing straight ahead. Belly button is in. And then again, we're going back and returning. Yeah, I like this. We're going to do 8 more. 7. Last 5. 4. 3. 2. Last 1. Good. And I'm going to keep my palms forward. Elbows are going to come out to the sides wide and then back up for a tap. And just because I've decreased my weight, I'm going to increase just how dynamic this exercise is, and I'm going to bring my legs up as well. Wide arms, return. And 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the arms down by your sides. Let's keep the legs for a moment. Take a nice deep breath. We're going to chin to the chest and curl forward. As you do, the arms come up an inch. And then back down. 4 more. And 3. Oh, 4. Here's 4. And 3. And 2. One more. And then come all the way down. Okay, we're going to put these weights to the sides for a moment. Put them down. And let's bring our arms into cactus position. Palms up, elbows wide. And we'll bring the knees over to one side. And we'll breathe. One more deep breath here, nice and long through the neck. And then we're going to bring the knees over to the right. or the other side. One more deep breath here. Ah, that was nice. Let's come on up to sit. We're going to do a little bit of a mermaid stretch here before we come back up to stand. Okay, so two things make this shape challenging. One of the things could be knee discomfort and hip tightness. The second is hip tightness. Knee discomfort, hip discomfort, or hip tightness or knee tightness. So if you need to make a change, you're just going to bring your legs straight ahead. Okay? I'm going to bring my left hand out to my left ankle. This hip wants to come up that way, so I'm just going to shift my weight so I'm sitting into my left hip a little bit. It's tight. Right arm up, and then we stretch up and over. Along the way, you look down at your left hand, and then you return. And try it again. You rotate along the way, and it becomes a beautiful back stretch. Inhale up. One more. And then we'll bring the right arm down, just a quick stretch over to the right. And then we'll switch. Legs come over to the other side. Okay, so again, knee and hip tightness or discomfort. If it's real pain, just bring your legs out front. Don't push through that. But if it's tightness, that's one of the goals of this exercise, is to stretch the hip joints and the knee joint. So my right hand, you can hold onto your ankle and even kind of pull yourself gently in that direction so you can sit into that tight right hip. Ooh, relax your right shoulder. Lift up and over and along the way. Rotate and breathe. Come back up. Try it again. One more. And then come all the way up. You can bring your left hand down and stretch over. And then return. Good. Okay, let's make our way up to stand. We're going to need just a little bit of wall space for this. Not that we're going to lean into it. I'm just going to put my hand against it so it can be a desk or a chair or something else that's really sturdy. Okay, and I'm going to bring first my right hand to whatever it is and I'm going to hold on to, and then the left hand back to the left foot. Now, those of you that don't have the mobility in the knee, the ankle, the hip to grab onto your foot like this, you can use a belt, your magic circle, something else, a yoga strap. When you get yourself in this position, try and stand up straight. One way to increase the stretch through the thigh is to reach the knee, the left knee, down. Like you're reaching it down away from your hip. And to press that same hip forward. And if you can stomach it, pulling the heel towards the tush even a little bit more. So knee down, woo, hip forward. Tailbone drops down as well. You're certainly not going to tuck your pelvis, but the more you can not overly arch, you'll get a deeper stretch. If you want to bring the opposite arm up to the ceiling, make it a little bit of a balance exercise, that's really great if you'd like. Two more deep breaths here. One more. Whew. And then I'm going to do the other side, okay? Other side. Okay, so a lot of times when people do this stretch, I see them kind of like bent over like this. See if you can stand up, knee down, hip forward. It's not a tucked pelvis, but you can pretend like you almost want to tuck the pelvis. Heel towards the tushy. Stand tall. One more deep breath here. And then come all the way down, okay? Feet wider than your own hips. And we're gonna come down, fold forward, come down towards the floor. Head can release the best it can. Walk your hands over towards the right a little bit and lean your hips slightly to the right. And then come back through the center and over to the left. Ooh. Center, right. Center, left. One more each way. Come back center, relax the head, move your head a little side to side, and then soften those knees, push back through the heels into the ground, come all the way up. Walk the feet back in, stand tall, arms up, we're gonna hook those thumbs at the top, chin down just to relax the back of the neck a little bit and side to side. Stretch open those ribs, push down through the feet. Super deep breath. One more each way. And we'll come back to the center. As your arms come down, the crown of the head goes up. Shoulders slowly relax. One belly breath here. So push down through the feet, breathe into your waist. Let's do it one more time. Close your eyes if you can. All right. We did it. Have a great day. May the force be with you.